for Chapter 5. So for Chapter 5, we want to talk about inventory 存货. Remember, Chapter 5 and Chapter 6, these two chapters are related. They are about inventory. So that's why if you miss Chapter 5, sometimes it's quite hard for you to understand Chapter 6. Okay? Chapter 5, we have 2 points from last week. Hi, Ray. We have 2 points from last week. Okay? So on slide 16 is about 2 points we've mentioned from last week. What is the first key point? First key point is when we want to know how much money we spend to buy the inventory. So how much money we spend to buy the inventory? In other words, what is our cost of inventory 存货成本? Cost of inventory 存货成本 means how much money we spend to buy our inventory. So how to determine the dollars, the amount? Remember, 1 plus 2, right? So what's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? Make it ready for sales. 达到可供出售状态的相关支出. Okay? So only you pay the purchase price and try to get your inventory. Only your inventory arrive your company. Then you could sell it to customers, right? So that's why when we want to determine our cost of inventory is 1, purchase price. For example, $50. 2, make it ready for sales. 达到可供出售状态的相关支出. Usually, for your first year, is 2 major items. So 2 major items. First is freight in. What does that mean, freight in? Shipping fee, delivery fee, 运费. Second item is sales tax, 营业税. We pay the tax to the government. So $4 for your government. Okay? So 1 plus 2, $50 plus 2, $10. Right? 6 and 4, $10. That's how we determine the cost of inventory. $60. What does it mean? We spend $60 to buy 10 inventory. Okay? So that's how we determine cost of inventory, 存货成本. That's a first key point we've mentioned from last week. What's the key point? Second key point. After we got inventory, what's our purpose? Sell it to customers, right? So when we want to sell the inventory to customers, before we have 10 units, right? Later on, we sold 7 units to customers, which means still have 3 units unsold, right? What 3 units unsold means still in your company, okay? So based on this, that's our second key point from last week. So could you tell me 7 units we sold to customers? Then it become what? 3 units unsold still are your what? Anyone? To earn your point, 1 semester point, 总分加1分. You can look at your notes. It's okay. Your slides is okay. So your inventory when you sold to customers is not yours, right? So since that's not your inventory anymore, so what does it mean? Well, this 7 units provide you future economic benefit. It's not, right? Because not yours. Not yours. They cannot give you any future benefits. Okay? So for this part, inventory sold become your expenses, right? Because expenses without future economic benefit. So this kind of expenses for inventory, which account we use? Remember? Phoebe, which account we use to describe expenses about your inventory? Cost of goods sold, right? Okay. So after we sold these 7 units to customers, the unit we sold to customers is not our inventories anymore, right? Because we give it to customers. Since the inventory is not yours, they cannot provide you future economic benefit. So remember, it's not your assets anymore because they cannot provide you future economic benefit. Why? Not yours. So how could you use it in the future? Impossible, okay? So since not our assets anymore, then no future economic benefit. That means this is your expense. So the expenses about inventory, which account we use? Cost of goods sold. So this expense about inventory, we call cost of goods sold, right? 销货成本, right? Why? Cost of goods means this is your inventory, right? Sold means you sold to customers already. So for expenses related to inventory, we use cost of goods sold, 销货成本, to describe. That's our expenses about inventory, okay? For 3 unsold, still the same, your inventory in your company. Any questions? But remember, accounting, finance, even though we care about the unit, but we care about more about money. So 7 units, 3 units, how much? For finance and for accounting, okay? Who care about unit more? Factory, 工厂. Only factory, 工厂 care about quantities, unit more. But for finance, accounting, we care about money more. So you have to make it become dollars, okay? So we just get cost of inventory, 存货成本, how much? $60 for 10 units, right? So 1 unit, $6. So that's why 3 units, each one $6. So total amount dollars is $18 for our 3 unsold inventories, okay? And how about for that 7 units you sold to customers? Our inventory decreased 7 units. At the same time, no future economic benefit. So that's why our expenses increased 7 units. But we are finance accounting guys. So try to make it become money, okay? So 7 units, how much? Each one, $6. So totally $42 is our cost of goods sold, okay? So the total amount, this is our cost of goods sold. Okay? That's from last week. 2 major points we want to mention. After that, we still have inventory. Inventory is our current assets, right? So you will find out $18 our inventory on which financial statements? Balance sheet, statement of financial position, balance sheet, 财务状况表. We tell you the company's value. So 3 major items, what? Asset, liability, equity, right? So that's why we look at assets. We'll tell you how many assets you have. So one of the assets you have is inventory. So you will tell them, I still have inventory in my company. $18 for how many units? 3 units, okay? But the problem is, accounting finance guide, we care about money more. So I know $18 for 3 units. Okay? So how about that 7 unit we sold to customers? Remember, 7 unit you sold to customers means you don't have 7 units anymore, right? And at the same time, you have expenses incurred. This kind of expenses about inventory is called cost of goods sold, right? So I sold 7 units to customers. What's my expense? $42 my expense. But don't worry, you have the expense $42, but you use that to what? To earn more money back. So that's why I have sales revenues from customers $140. So I get them 7 units. But for that 7 units, I just spent $42 before. But for that 7 units, I could earn more money back. Okay? So for that 7 units, I sold to customers. So did you find out? $42 is the money you spent. Okay? But for that, you could use that to earn more money back, right? So you could earn more money back. Okay? So for this business, do you have the profit? Yes, 7 units. I just spent 42 before, but I could earn $140 back. Okay? So this business, I made the money. So what's the money profit you got? 98. Okay? But remember, gross profit, 毛利小五郎, 毛利, 98 is the profit only from inventory. We didn't consider second expenses yet, okay? So after that, I know gross profit, 毛利. So this is the profit you can get from inventory. So any questions? These are 2 key points we've mentioned from last week. So you should understand inventory, how much money you spent before. Right now, when you sold to customers, what's the profit you can get from the inventory? Okay? Any questions? No problem? Okay. Based on this, then we know how to get gross profit. Sales revenue minus cost of goods sold, you got gross profit, 毛利, right? But remember, the gross profit only from inventory. So this is the profit you can get from inventory. From your slide 21. But remember, we have second kind of expense. What's that? Utility expense, salaries expense, interest expense, rent expenses, other expenses. Okay? So other expenses is what? Operating expense, right? So cost of goods sold is your first expense. So this expense from inventory. But don't forget, not only inventory expense, we still have other expense you have to consider. Okay? So net income is our final profit after you consider the second expense. Okay? So remember, net income is your final profit. After considering second expense. What's your second expense? Operating expenses, right? 营业费用。Okay, so if you want to have a a clear picture, you can go back to here, slide page 8. Remember, slide page 8. Sales revenue minus cost of goods sold, your first expense, the expense from inventory. So you got gross profit, 毛利小五郎. So you can note the profit only from inventory. Then you consider second expense, operating expenses, 营业费用. So what does that mean? Operating expenses, rent expense, utility expense, salaries expenses, interest expenses. Okay, any kind of expenses except inventory. So you can get your final profit, net income. Okay. Any questions? No problem? Okay, so that's the concept, the basic concept you should know. Also, we practiced it last week, right? So remember, that's the practice we have from last week. So did you find out? Sales revenue minus cost of goods sold, you got gross profit. So we focus on the A unit, right? Why? We want to know for the A unit we sold, what's the profit we can get, right? So sales revenue minus cost of goods sold, you got gross profit. So you know when you sold A unit, the profit you got. So the profit you got. Okay? Right? I did the business. So what does that mean? You did the business. When you do the business with customers, when you sold the product to customers, so you sold A unit only. So I want to know for this transaction, you do the business with customers. You sold A units to customers. What's the profit you can get? Okay? And don't forget, after first expense, cost of goods sold, we still have second expense, right? Because you had to pay the rent, you had to pay the salaries, you had to pay the water, electricities. So after that, we have to consider second expense, operating expenses, considering rent, salaries, interest, utilities. Okay, so this is my final profit I got. So final profit you got, what does it mean? This is a true money you can put into your pocket and you can use it to do everything you want, including what? Pay the dividends to shareholders, including what? Use the money to operate your company in the future. Okay, so net income is the final profit you got. And you can use that for dividends or for company's operation in the future. Okay? The here told you, you sold A, right? You still have 2 unsold. So still have 2 unsold. Of course, still your inventory. Still your inventory, still your assets, right? You sold 8. So means unsold, still your company is 2, right? Okay? So you have to consider how many you sold. The part you sold will give you profit, maybe. The part unsold still in your company. So that's your assets. Okay? If you understand the basic relationship between each others, then we have to consider, we have to talk about more complicated situation. So what does that mean, more complicated situation? For companies, not only 1 year. So when the company had the information data, not only 1 year. Normal case, your company is not only 1 year company, right? So you have some money, you have some assets, you have some data from last year. So we have to consider that. Okay? So here I want to tell you, if right now you have to consider situation for 2 years, which is common case, 2 years, which is your normal case. 正常情况. Why is that? Your company is not only for 1 year. So you have to consider, how about you have some inventory from last year? How about you have some data, money from last year? So you have to consider last year's situation, including this year's situation, right? Okay. So after consider 2 year situations, then we how to get our cost of goods sold and how to get our ending inventory. So how to get your cost of goods sold? This is our cost of goods sold. How to get your inventory still unsold? Okay, so this is sold. This is unsold. The same situation from last one. I know 8 sold, right? 2 unsold. Same, but we want to consider last year's situation. So how to get the cost of goods sold? How to get your inventory still in your company? Okay. First is beginning inventory. So what does it mean? Beginning inventory. 起初存货 means there's inventory from last year, right? For your company, is it possible you sold out all the inventory this year? Impossible, right? You have inventory 8 sold, right? I still have a 2 in the company. So what does it mean? Could you sell it next year? Yes, right? So this 2 unit unsold this year, you could sell it next year, right? So they become next year's what? Beginning inventory, okay? 起初存货. So beginning inventory means what? That's your ending inventory from last year. Ending means last day. So ending inventory from last year. (去年的期末存货) Okay. So last year, I still have some units unsold, but it's enough for you to do the business this year. Usually, it's not enough. So you will decide to buy more inventory this year, okay? So you will buy more inventory this year, which is cost of good purchase, okay? Cost of good purchase means the inventory you purchase this year. Okay, so based on the first day, I have inventory from last year, plus the inventory I purchased this year. So could you tell me how many inventory right now I have, right? Beginning I have plus the inventory I purchased this year. So total inventory I have right now is cost of goods available for sale. Available for sale 可供销售存货 OK 可供销售存货 Available for sale, the inventory you have right now, available for sale. So total inventory you have. For sale. Okay? So right now I know total inventory I have. Then you could sell it to customer, right? So total inventory you have when you sold to customers, then means what? The inventory not yours, right? Inventory not yours. At the same time, I have expenses incurred, right? So when you sold to customers, what's the effect you will have? First effect, your inventory decrease, right? Second effect is what? Your expenses happen increase. These expenses above inventory, remember which account we use? Cost of goods sold, right? So the part we sold to customers, not your inventory anymore. At the same time, we have expenses, cost of goods sold increase, right? Others still in your company, then they are your inventory. So ending inventory, what does it mean? Your inventory on last day. So ending inventory, ending means last day. So still have inventory in your company. On last day. For example, maybe December 30. So after the whole year, on the last day, I find out I still have some inventory unsold in the company. Okay, so there's a relationship actually the same as before, but right now considering 2 years data. Okay, any questions? So based on this, if we use simple number to let you understand it. So simple number. For example, last year is 2020. So last year, 2020. This is last year. Okay? So maybe last year you have a 10 unit, but you sold 8, right? So after the whole year, you still have a 2 unit unsold. So these 2 units unsold on the last day, we call it ending inventory. 期末存货. Ending inventory means the inventory you still have on last day. So last year, I still have a 2 unit, right? So this 2 unit from last year will become your beginning inventory this year, right? Because your first date, you find out you still have a 2 unit in your company. So you know you still have a 2 unit this year. So this 2 unit is your beginning inventory this year. Okay, so what year it is for this year? 2021. So in the beginning, I have a 2 unit already. Okay, but you know 2 units is not enough. So this year you decide to buy 12 units more. So this 12 units more is the inventory you purchase. Okay, so first day I have a 2 unit already. This year I purchased 12 units more. So totally right now, how many units you have? 2 plus 12, right? So this 2 plus 12 is the total inventory you have. So 2 plus 12, this is the total inventory you have, right? So what we call it? We call it goods, cost of goods available for sale, right? 可供销售存货 available for sale. So this is total 12 you have available for sale.可供销售存货 Okay, so beginning inventory plus inventory you purchase. So totally I have 14 units of inventory. I could sell it to customers. Then later on I sold 9 units. Okay, I sold 9 units to customers. So for that 9 units, hi Dora, for that 9 units we sold to customers, what we called cost of goods sold, okay? So the inventory we sold to customers is cost of goods sold, right? So total inventory we have 14. Then we will sold 9, right? You sold 9 means what? You still have 5 unsold, right? So for the 5 unsold still in your company on last day. So what we call ending inventory. For the 5 units unsold. For the 9 units you sold to customers, not yours anymore. So remember, what's that? That's our cost of goods sold. Okay? Any questions? But remember, right now, what's the measure we use? Unit. But remember, we are not working in the factory. So we care more about the money. So try to make it become dollars. Okay? Here I use unit because it's easier for you to understand. But you should note, finance accounting, we prefer with more care about money. So 12 units, how much? Okay? So that's why, did you find out? Here we told you cost, what is that? Means there's money. Okay? If you understand that, that's the concept we have. And finish your note, page 7. If you understand the concept, you should understand how to finish your note, page 7. Okay? If you finish, you can take a break. So go to your note, finish page 7. Here, we have case A, case B, case C, so 3 cases. Look at the case A, got the numbers, and prepare your statement of comprehensive income and your statement of financial position. After that, finish case C. So case B for also the same, case C for the same. So got the numbers and put the numbers on 2 financial statements.